Good afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. I'm your host, George Dagless, for this midweek preview. And joining me are Marcus Ally and Ben Wignall. Marcus, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. How are you, George?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I feel like I might be getting a slight cold after sitting at the Valley for Charlton and Bolton last night. But, we'll get into the review tomorrow. That's tomorrow's show. This is today's show. Ben, how are you?
Very well, George. I was at deep there last night for PNE Stoke, and we've got a few decent championship games to look forward to for tonight.
We certainly do. Just the Championship is our focus this afternoon. Do get in touch if you can. We're across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Do send any comments. Let us know your prediction and thoughts ahead of this evening's games in the second tier. Let's start by looking at Fulham against Swansea at Craven Cottage. And the interesting stat, or I think it's interesting at least for me, is that Fulham have had 47 shots in their last two games in the Championship against Bristol City and Reading, respectively. And I've only scored 2 goals in that time. I've only got 1 point from that as well. Obviously, the draw against Bristol City at Ashton Gate. Fulham are struggling for goals at the moment, Marcus, I think it's fair to say. What have you made of their sort of lack of efficiency in front of goal? And surely it's only a matter of time before they give someone another pasting, really.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit out of character for Alexander Mitrovic, particularly at Bristol City. But on that statistic, I think maybe the amount of time they've been trailing the game has kind of set up for the opposition to sit back and allow Fulham to come onto them and try and break them down. So maybe that has exacerbated the shot count a little, but it is probably more of a positive than a negative, although I'm sure Silva will be telling his players not to just have a shot for the sake of having a shot. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how Swansea's style of play can combat Fulham and their attacking prowess. But yeah, I think 47 shots and just 2 goals. Yeah, they are going to have to get their eye in at some point, and I'm sure that the Championship will feel the brunt of it.
Yeah, Ben, do you think Silva will be tempted to change things too much? I mean, in recent weeks, he's looked to name pretty much the same starting 11 where he can, or very similar in league matches at least. Do you think he might be tempted to, use that depth of squad that he's got? I mean, obviously there's so many good players in that team, but potentially in terms of the attacking third at least, he might want to just try and keep it the same. What sort of decision do you think he's going to make?
Well, I think he had it easy in the first few weeks of the season. He won quite a few games, and I think it's all stemmed from Carvalho going down injured. Even though he's only a young lad, he came in and scored 3 and 5, I think it was. And since then, it seems to have gone a little bit off the boil in front of goal. I think more than anything, they'll be wanting him to be fit for tonight. I'm not sure if he is or not, but he seems to be getting close to returning anyway. I think he will be tempted to change it up a little bit. I mean, I think he's very rigid in the fact that he goes with a 4-2-3-1, which kind of limits what he can do up front. Like they signed Muniz from Brazil this summer. I don't think he'll be partnering Mitrovic too much as a 4-4-2 or something like that. But they've got the likes of Cavallero, Cabano, Wilson. The list is pretty much endless of the kind of attacking midfield talent they've got. So I think he could be tempted to switch it up, but I think they're just not getting the rub of the green in front of goal. I think they've hit the woodwork more than any other team in the Championship this season, especially in the last few games. So I think he will be tempted, but I think he might keep with the same Mitrovic and Wilson, and then he's got a choice of your attacking mid and then your left winger. So he could change it, but I don't think he'll be making 5 or 6 changes to the team.
Okay. Obviously, they welcome Swansea, Fulham this evening at Craven Cottage. Swansea have hardly been prolific themselves so far this season, just the 8 goals for them in the league. They beat Huddersfield 1-0 last time out. Marcus, do you think the plan for Russell Martin's men tonight will be just frustrate Fulham as much as they can and then obviously try and nick a result?
Yeah, I think they have been quite reliant on Joel Pirou in front of goal so far this season, and obviously keeping possession in their own half. In Fulham half will be the priority for Russell Martin. That's the way he tries to manage the game. I can't see them sitting back too much. I think they will try and impose themselves, as he said during the week, against one of the toughest matches of the season on paper away at Craven Cottage. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can frustrate Fulham. Maybe if they go in half time 0-0, I think Fulham might maybe that will force Marco Silva's hand to make some attacking changes. But it's going to be an interesting dynamic how the clash of styles really works. And yeah, Swansea won't change. I think we know that Martin's bold enough that he's going to play a certain way no matter who the opposition are.
Okay, what's your score prediction for this one, Marcus?
I think more frustration for Fulham, but I think the quality, they'll probably just be able to grind it out. Swansea have been good defensively of late, but I think Fulham, will just have too much quality, maybe coming off the bench as well. 1-0 to the Cottagers.
Okay, and Ben, how do you see this one going?
I think it'll click for Fulham tonight. I think Swansea, obviously, they conceded 3 against Luton the other week, so they can be susceptible at the back, and I think that Fulham just might have a little bit too much for them, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Fulham.
Yeah, I was thinking 3-1 as well, actually. To the home side, we'll see what transpires there. Let's move away from that one. Let's talk Reading and Derby's clash next. Reading head to Pride Park this evening. It's a game between two sides. Obviously, one has got a points deduction and has got another one coming by all accounts. And Reading, of course, have got one hanging over them as well. So it's two teams that obviously, once it's all been applied, are going to be towards the bottom of the league. Ben, let's come to you for this first of all. Would you say it's a must-win for both teams, or potentially it's a must-win for, I guess, maybe Derby, looking at where they're going to end up being?
Yeah, I think the points deduction for Reading, I think when it comes, I think it's going to be 6 points. I think they'll be all right. I think they've shown enough to not be in a relegation battle this season, so long as they don't pick up any more, breaking regulations and whatnot. But I think all games now for Derby are must win. I think they're going to have to go on a big unbeaten run to even think about getting out of the relegation battle this season. Obviously, they've probably going to get another 9 coming up. So yeah, every game for Derby at the minute is kind of a 6-pointer, if you like. I just think the squad depth is just, unfortunately for them, is not quite there for them to sustain anything. So I find it quite unlikely that it'll get kind of a winning run or an unbeaten run going. They did well to hold out against Sheffield United on Saturday. Obviously, it was 0-0 until the later moments, and then Curtis Davis handballed it and Billy Sharp found the back of the net. If they can try and get a draw, I think that'll be a decent result, but obviously draws aren't going to keep you up when they're in the situation they are. So I don't doubt they'll go for the win, but it just might be a struggle against a Reading team who seems to be in very good form at the minute.
Yeah, certainly are. Reading have won the last 3 games in the league table, currently sit 10th, but can get in and around the playoff places with a win this evening. Marcus, how do you think Paunovic goes about setting his team up for this one, and obviously trying to get a result against Derby?
Well, I think the first conundrum for him is the centre-back pairing. Obviously, it worked at the weekend against Middlesbrough, but with Andy Yeardom and Josh Lauren at centre-back, 2 players not known for playing at the heart of defence. So maybe that'll be something even Rooney can try and take into his advantage. I think Paunovic will be looking for more of the same. Both sides will definitely sense the opportunity to get 3 points. And obviously, as we've mentioned, probably a bit more stress on the shoulders of Derby, whether they can compete to even get themselves in a positive points tally as soon as possible. So I think Paunovic might be preparing to react to that, seeing Rooney maybe just throw caution to the wind and go for it. They've got nothing to lose in this situation. And Paunovic definitely has the attacking talent to pick them off, particularly as Ben mentioned, with a lack of squad depth maybe towards the back end of the match where they collapsed, unfortunately, against Sheffield United. I think the latter exchanges of the game is where Reading will have the upper hand. So yeah, I think Paunovic will be relaxed going into it because he knows that there's more pressure on Derby, but also will probably be expecting a win. And yeah, hopefully they can kick on and ruffle some feathers inside the top 6, probably temporarily.
Okay. What's your score prediction for this one, Marcus?
I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I think spirited Derby can continue this run. And yeah, Andy Yeardom and Josh Laurent were excellent at the weekend to keep a clean sheet at centre-back, but I can't quite see that working at a championship level. And home advantage on their side, the Derby fans have been outstanding of late. I think they might be able to drag their team towards a result.
Okay, and Ben, how do you see this one going?
I think Reading will get the better of them. I think I've been very impressed with some of the results. I didn't expect them to win on Saturday with the defensive issues they've had, and they came out on top on that one. So I'm going for a 2-0 away win to Reading tonight.
All right, I'm going to mix it up. I've just got a feeling Derby might edge this one. We're going to go 2-1 to the Rams. Obviously, Reading have shown very good form, but they do occasionally throw in a banana skin, and they might well be due one this evening. We'll see what happens. Obviously, if they do win, then they're looking up, even though that points deduction is on the way. Let's move away from Reading's trip to Derby. Then let's talk Peterborough against Bournemouth. And straight off the bat, Ben, the question is, how do the Posh go about stopping the Cherries, who have been in great form so far this year?
Don't know if they can. Darren Ferguson don't really do parking the bus with any of his teams. I've seen it firsthand at PNE quite a few years ago when he was manager there. He didn't really set up teams to stop him. And with Peterborough, I'm not sure they've got the quality at the back to contain the likes of Solanke and Jaden Anthony's been a real surprise package this season. They've got assets going forward. Obviously, Peterborough, Dembele is frighteningly quick when he's got the ball, and if he gets a little bit of space, he can do some damage. So I think maybe trying to sit back for once and soaking up a lot of Bournemouth's pressure, because we know Scott Parker's teams love to keep the ball, get down the flanks and create attacks that way. Maybe that's the only way that Peterborough are going to get a result, by parking a lot of men behind the ball, maybe keeping Dembele up the top of the pitch. But I just think it's going to be really tough for him to get even a point out of this, even at home.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at the league table. Peterborough's conceded more than anyone else so far in the Championship. 20 goals they've let in. Conversely, Marcus, Bournemouth obviously looking very good at the moment. It seems as though that Cherries fans are enjoying Parker ball, whereas at the start of this season, Fulham fans might have suggested that they might get a little bit bored of it. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I think Ryan Christie's got to be someone that's come in and really changed the way they play and has enabled Parker to implement this easy on the ice style that we've seen. I mean, one of the particularly the first assist at the weekend for Phil Billing against Luton was beautiful. The little deft chip over the top. That'll be a big concern for Darren Ferguson. I think that is the main key for Bournemouth. I know we've seen them go on this good run and rise to the top of the table, but I think most people possibly think that Fulham and West Brom are going to be able to catch them in the end. I think stopping Ryan Christie may be the key to that. He got 2 assists at the weekend, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on against Peterborough. As I agree with Ben, it's a bit of $1 million question how the Peterborough tighten up at the back. They couldn't even really do it in League One. They even had Ivan Toney and missed out on the playoffs because they were so leaky at the back. So it's an enormous challenge in the form of the Cherries. They're coming in as firm favourites, and with good reason. It's going to be a really tough evening for Posh. I think maybe they can take a little bit of belief from, they held West Bromwich Albion to a 1-0 loss, but it was in added time. They held them at 0-0 until deep into the second half. Maybe they can take a bit of belief from that and deploy some similar tactics than that. I think it was an evening match as well. But yeah, it's an uphill battle, isn't it?
Yeah, so with that in mind, then Marcus, are you going to back a draw, or are you still going to go for Bournemouth away victory?
No, 3-1 Bournemouth for me. I think their combinations up front are mesmerising at the moment, and they're a team that will definitely be able to put away the lesser clubs, I think, in the Championship on a pretty consistent basis this season.
All right, and Ben, I'm going to guess that you're thinking similar for a score tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2-0. I think it might go similar to Bournemouth's game against Birmingham last month. They'll probably be on the front foot for a lot of it, but I don't think they'll blow Peterborough away, but I just think they'll do enough to, get the job done and make it look comfortable.
All right, we shall see. I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory for Bournemouth. I think Peterborough, as Ben says, they're going to go after it. They might as well. They've kind of got nothing to lose in a game like this, and obviously Bournemouth got the attacking talent to unpick a Peterborough side that, as we mentioned, has been very leaky so far in the Championship. One more game to go in depth in, and that's Barnsley against Nottingham Forest. And the initial question needs to be, Ben, can Marcus stop this rot that Barnsley find themselves in at the moment? Obviously, much was made of their slow start last season under Valerian Ismail, and eventually they got themselves into the playoffs. But it seems to be now we're kind of getting towards the quarter mark in the season, nearly a couple of games away, and Barnsley are at the wrong end of the table and showing no real, signs of that they're going to kick on and suddenly put a run of form together.
Yeah, they don't look anything like the side of last season. They've had a last two games, especially, a lot of possession. At home to Blackburn and away to Blackpool. I think they had 60% in both, and they've not done much with it. They've not looked like really scoring, and that kind of Ismail effect of last season's pretty much gone. I think a lot of people kind of expected he was the person that was making him tick. And it does look like that way. And there's a few like situations that aren't really helping. I think Callum Styles is one of their best players last year, and he's now flip-flopping between two different positions. He's sometimes playing as a left wing back, sometimes playing as a central midfielder. So that needs to be kind of one solution that needs to come about, where his long-term future is going to be. But Shop, obviously, it's his first job in English football, and some managers coming in make an immediate impact, but he's not quite done it yet. I don't think the recruitment was too great. There's been in the summer, there was a few players that I thought maybe not quite the level they need to keep that. Maybe I think playoffs anyway was going to be a tough one again. I saw no reason why they couldn't get in the top half this season. But watching them the first few games of the season, I find it hard to see how they're not going to be in a relegation battle, because it doesn't seem like they're going to score many goals, and they are leaking the odd goal or two every game. So, yeah, he's finding it quite tough at the minute.
Certainly is. Certainly work to do for Shop and the Tights. As for Forest, obviously Steve Cooper's in there now. First game at the weekend, a draw against Millwall. Their record's not great at Oakwell, Marcus. They haven't won there since November 2016, in fact, and they've lost their last 4 games at Barnsley's grounds. What case can you make for Forest? Changing that record. Obviously, Cooper, it'll be a real sort of a shot in the arm for him at this early stage, breaking that record. And obviously, Barnsley, as we mentioned, are struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not someone who takes historic sort of head-to-head records too seriously. I think it's a really nice occasion for Forest. It's a bit of a role reversal, isn't it? They've been hosting some teams with their own manager under pressure, with them being the team that's in a relegation battle, or quote unquote relegation battle. Barnsley are now, the shoes on the other foot. Forest are now the side going in with a little bit less pressure, with a manager that's more secure in his job, and hopefully they'll have some newfound confidence, I think, at Oakwell. Barnsley are a little too reliant on Corley Woodrow. They earned a draw at Stoke City a few weeks ago, which is one of their better recent results, but it was a free kick from miles out. They're not going to score a worldie like that in every match, and it's proved that they've really struggled in front of goals since. In terms of expected goals, their figures are only worse off by their only team their figures are better than is Derby County. So I think that speaks of a side that's definitely destined in their current guise for a relegation battle, and Forest will be fired up because of that. Cooper has spent a lot of time on the training ground, it seems like, ever since he came in last week. So I think Forest should be confident here coming in. I've actually predicted a 2-0 win for Forest. I think they should be confident of getting the win, and Barnsley are on a poor run, and I think the crowd might start to turn on Shop. I'm not sure how much the players are playing for him. Are his ideas coming across? It doesn't seem like it at the moment, so I think it's advantage Forest.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think we'll go for 1-0 Forest win to break that poor record they've got at Barnsley. Ben, how do you see this one going?
I see a Forest win as well. I think they've kind of turned. I know they only drew against Millwall, but I think they've turned a little bit of a corner since Houghton departed. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Forest.
Okay, let's just briefly look at 2 other Championship games that are on the agenda this evening. We've got Luton hosting Coventry and Millwall at home to Bristol City. Marcus, let's talk Luton-Coventry first of all. On paper, that looks like it could be quite an entertaining game, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I think under the lights at Kenilworth Road, this could be a real epic. I think Luton are better in terms of their league position. They're in 17th. For me, they're a much better side than that. We've seen them be quite inconsistent this season, put in some good performances and then go and lose 5-0 at home to Birmingham. But Nathan Jones will make sure they're focused, and Coventry have been very reliant, I think, on their home form in terms of bumping up their league position. Mark Robbins will be keen for them to get what I think would be their first win on the road tonight, but I think it'll be really tough. Luton are a good side, so yeah, it's going to be a really exciting match. I was going to say I'd have Luton to win this, but Victor Gyökeres, I think you can't really write him off at the moment, so I'm going to go for 1-1, but an enterprising 1-1 at that.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-2 in this particular fixture. Ben, what's your score prediction here?
It's a tough one. It's Coventry have surprised me this season. I didn't expect to have such a good start. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. I think Luton are probably underperforming a little bit. I expect them to be in the top half and having a quick good start to the season, but I can see a 1-1 draw here.
Okay, and obviously we've mentioned Millwall, Bristol City. Ben, I know we said that Luton Coventry could be entertaining. I personally feel that this game at the New Den could be the opposite. I've just got this feeling in my gut that it could be 0-0. I don't know why. It's mainly because Millwall draw every game they seem to play at the moment. How do you see these two sort of duking it out this evening?
Not sure. It depends if Jed Wallace is back for Millwall. He's missed a few games with an illness. If they can get him in Shea or join the same team, I think that's a pretty entertaining attack for Millwall. And when Benicofobie's back fit as well, that's a good trio to have. Bristol City have been a bit of a weird one. They've won a few good games early on in the season, and the form just seems to be very inconsistent, like a lot of Championship teams at the minute. See a narrow Millwall win, I think. Maybe a 1-0 for them, maybe from a set piece.
Okay, and Marcus, Millwall, Bristol City, who do you fancy tonight between these two?
Yeah, similar lines as Ben. I think Rowett is going to be keen not to be sort of shoehorned as the draw specialist as much as everyone's trying to. I completely agree. Narrow 2-1 win, actually. Yeah, let's go for a little bit more goals for Millwall. Should be an exciting game.
It should be if you're right and I'm wrong. Millwall, they're obviously looking to snap this label they're getting a draw specialist, but not really did themselves any favour with the amount they are getting this year and of course last year in the Championship as well. Right, before we go, we'll just let you know where our Football League 1 journalists are going to be this evening in the Championship. I'm going to be at Craven Cottage for Fulham against Swansea, which we obviously spoke about at the top of the show. Ned Holmes is going to Millwall against Bristol City. He'll be hoping Marcus and Ben are right with goals and I'm wrong with a goalless draw. George Harvey, as always, following Forest around the country. He's off to Oakwell this evening. Obviously, Forest looking to break that poor record they've got at Barnsley's ground. And finally, Billy Mully is at Luton versus Coventry at Kenilworth Road. We've obviously spoke about that one as well. Expecting an entertaining game. He'll be hoping for that too. Right, that brings an end to this afternoon's midweek preview. We hope you've enjoyed it. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can. Also like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Football League World. That's the place to be for EFL coverage. Marcus, Ben, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, and people at home will speak to you very soon.